So how are you? How's the body?
Body's good, yeah. Everything's not too bad. Well, that's the diplomatic answer. Yeah, everything's great, and then
That's the answer
everything,
that's the answer you want your competitors to hear. I'm firing on all cylinders.
everything's great.
Yeah.
I
Um
think everyone has their ups and downs in training weeks, and if anyone at that level tells you there's not, there's always something going on. Like last week, my knees sort of flare up a wee bit. The history of tendonitis in them, but you know what to do, and you know how to counteract it, and you work around it essentially. So yeah, like there's always something, but it's you can work around these things.
has it gotten easier uh so it's kind of hard to compare years because 2020 was so fucking weird. But has it gotten easier to kind of manage your season a bit now that you don't have to, peak in February and peak again in, for regionals or whatever? Like, is it easier
Mhm.
now that the open is less intense and then that
Yeah, like the 3 week open is so much better. Like, yeah, it's people say, oh, you don't have to peak for it, you don't have to do this, but at the same time, quarterfinals is 2 weeks after it, so you still want to treat it with intensity. But yeah, you're not worrying about repeats and the stress of it. It's just a completely different feeling and like mindset. Essentially, whenever the open used to be everything, it's just a completely different feeling to it, and it's actually enjoyable almost.
uh,
Yeah, so it's definitely much better. I think I really am a fan of this layout of the season.
did you did all the workouts in 80/20, did you?
Yeah, yeah.
And was that I assume that was a big improvement just psychologically on like say German throwdown being online and like say the open, you know, with no crowds and no people around and stuff that like did it give you a boost, do you think?
Oh, was this for last year? Do you mean the semifinals?
Well, for now, for being in, say, like in the Open and quarterfinals, having like
Mm-hmm.
the team there, Louis and all those
Oh
guys
yeah,
doing it, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
like a crowd and stuff. Because I saw some of your videos, like it looked like there was
Oh
a
yeah.
fairly hefty crowd there.
Yeah, there was like family members and stuff come up, especially for the quarterfinals, and that was really cool. So no, it definitely was. It was cool to have the support there and the team guys as well. They done the individual quarterfinals because that was good prep for them for the team quarterfinals too. So yeah, it was just a really good buzz about the gym. It was just as you say, it's completely different from uh, last year and everything. So it was really cool to have that buzz back again and just yeah, it was good.
Um, in the off season there, so you went to Wadapalooza
Hmm.
um with I suppose in hindsight, not the most unique of team names as transpired, but it was funny. I found it funny, and then I saw the other one, and I found it even funnier.
Yeah.
Um, like, was that purely just I don't say recreation, but like, was it purely just a bit of fun, or did you take things from it? Because obviously, like Mickey and Sam are, on paper anyway, like competitors, and you're fighting for the same spots. Like,
Yeah. No, it was just going to be a bit of fun. Like well, obviously, like we were going and we were like, we want a podium. you know. Um, you seen all the other guys there and everything. Like, we're like, why not? Go and have a crack at it. And it was just like the team field was just so stacked. It was just such a good experience to have because it was all ex games athletes, not ex games athletes, but current games athletes, and
mm,
a lot of them do it to get to that stage of the season. There's a bit less pressure on them. So the opportunity arose. I think Sam he had a individual ticket and he was able to get it changed to a team ticket, and he had mentioned about doing it, and it just sort of came about. So thankfully, we were able to get a bit of help out and sponsors and things for the trip, and it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. you know. So what better way to start the year off in January? Well, although it wasn't too great because I did have COVID going out pretty much. So I think the first bit of intensity I done was the Echo Fran, and I
oh, lovely.
absolutely died so bad. Like literally,
Were
like
you were you
it's like
bad with it, or was it just like kind of
um,
flu?
kind of just cold and low energy. It was a really low energy actually. And then yeah, I got about two training sessions done before I left, and then I got two training sessions done before the competition. Again, nothing really with that much intensity. And then yeah, I think it was that Friday night or that first night or evening, that Echo Fran one. And typically I would be decent on the echo bike and everything, but I think even on like the last calories, I was like the last one off the bike with the other two guys. So yeah, it was a horrible experience.
You went down to uh, Georgia after
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
with Sam, and I was actually when I was chatting to Sam, I didn't think you'd be able to pull off tie dye, but you really did pull it off. What was that like being down there?
It was really cool, you know. We were just sort of making the most of our time. You know, we're out that far. I'm just going to make the most of our time of being out there. So yeah, to be fair, after Wallapalooza, we're pretty smashed up. I'm not going to lie. We're all pretty, you know, beat up after the competition. There was long waits after the warm up and everything. You were doing the event and everything. So I think it took quite a toll on the body. So we did try and do a bit of training and things when we were there, but we were mainly doing prehab and rehab and trying to get ourselves right again. But at the same time, it was still really cool to be there, just surrounded by people doing the same thing, you know, the same mindset and doing their training and really focused on that. And yeah, it's just a cool environment to be in and just chatting to the coaches and picking up some things as well because they had a training camp when we were there. So, you know, it's just so good to go back to basics on things like gymnastics and different things that you just overlook all the time, you know. So yeah, it was a good environment to be in for the week.
Is it like so? I don't want to like diminish any of your achievements in the sport or your like stance or status or whatever. But like when you walk into a room and like Sarah Sigmund's daughter's there or like Travis Mayer or
Oh
someone, are
yeah,
you in
yeah,
any
yeah.
way like, oh fuck, I better be really good today?
Um, no, I guess not really. Like, yeah, you see these people, but you also see them, like, yes, they're unbelievable athletes and unbelievable at what they do, but they are just people at the same time, you know. Like,
Hmm.
Travis is just like an ADHD kid. He's just so much energy. He's running about and he's just like slagging people and trash talking and stuff, you know. And then, yes, when it's like when it's go time, he goes. But they're also just human as well. And then you see there's some things like we've done some sort of cardio workout and like he was like, are you going to hold that for the workout? And I was like, yeah, I'm just warming up. And I was actually being serious. And he's like, oh my God, that's savage. And I was like, yeah, well, that was fine. But then, yeah, we went to like a row and double under workout. And then he smashed me on it because I've never seen anyone do love double unders so fast. You know, it's just, it's insane how fast he's at them. Um, so
Do you
yeah,
like
it's,
when you're there? Because obviously, like Georgia and Ireland in general couldn't be further removed. Obviously, we don't have any issues understanding them because we have so much American TV and so much like we're
yeah,
kind of flooded with it. But like,
yeah.
were you walking around with like, did you have flashcards? Was Sam just
Yeah.
like translating for you? How did that work?
Sam, he like he talks American anyway. So as soon as he goes out, his accent changes. He slows and he talks and he's like, "Oh, hey man, how are you?" Like this. I don't know how many times I heard Sam say that.
He
Um,
gets off the plane in Miami and puts on a cowboy hat. And
oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, he just everyone and he's just talking to everybody, and you know he had that kind of. It must just be in him. He just knows to slow it down. I think that maybe it's the posh South Dublin side. I don't know in him, but yeah, Northern Ireland would definitely have a faster tone, and you do realize you have to really slow down your conversation a wee bit a lot of times. So yeah, like a lot of times people would just look at you and be like, you know, they don't have a clue what you just said,
yeah,
and I'm just
just
nodding, and
politely
I'm
nodding.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely have to be conscious of your speed of conversation.
And so you've been training with Sam then as well, like like separate from Wadapalooza, we'll say, and separate from
Yeah,
Georgia,
yeah.
like you've kind of partnered up a bit. Um, is that like so? I was kind of confused by that before talking to Sam, but then he was explaining that Neil, like your coach, and Max in Think Tank are like they go way back, and like they're kind of
Hmm.
sharing the load of I suppose every second
Yeah,
weekend
yeah,
programming something. Um,
yeah.
is it? Like, is it? I suppose it's easier because you're in two separate semi-finals. As
Hmm.
luck would have it, like he's in Lowlands and you're in London. But like, is there like, do you think a point in the season will come where you're like, okay, I'm not talking to him anymore about fitness stuff?
Do you know? I think in previous seasons or something, I maybe would have been a bit like that, but that probably would have been my own insecurity of not wanting people to see what your weaknesses and stuff are. But I probably have a very much different mindset of it than Sam's. Just that he just has a good mindset of it anyway. He's out sort of chilled about it, and he's probably just confident in his abilities. But at the end of the day, it does not matter. You're going to work on your weaknesses and be the best you can. So if I can train against somebody who's going to beat me and stuff, that's that's better.
Mm.
Because I think it is very different of showing up and actually competing on the day, but in training and constantly trying to get that intensity, you're just constantly looking to be like what can I do better, and what better way to do that than getting beat half the time, you know. So yeah, I think uh, partnering up with Sam that way, it came quite easy, especially just because of this year of the way I've changed my lifestyle a wee bit. Before it would have been too difficult. Whenever you're working all the time and you're constantly just under like body stress or fatigue, you just wouldn't have been ready for a big training day like that. And it nearly would have caused you more stress to go into it because you weren't feeling ready for it essentially.
So is
Um,
this like you mentioned there that you've made changes? Is this you like all in now? Is this your you like have you set things up in such a way that you can't look back and be like, oh, maybe I should have done this?
Pretty much, yeah. I've just this year. I was working part time before Christmas, and then a wee bit afterwards. And now I'll not really be in the office until after semis or games, whatever, however far the season goes. But I've basically done what my body allowed me to do so far this year, and taken it that far. So, yeah, pretty much. I've just have to go with it, and I think I'll look back at the end of the year and you'll always have regrets. There'll always be things you want to do better or whatever, but I don't think you'd be a competitor if you didn't. But to the best of my ability and knowledge, I've sort of put everything into it.
And is you work with your dad? Is it generally?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So you're in our office.
Yeah. And is he like? Was it? I assume it was your idea, or like you and Neil or whatever, to say like, okay, maybe we need to roll things back. Was he like, yeah, I'm fully on board with this, or was he like, oh, for fuck's sake, who am I going to get to do this now?
Yeah, I know. It was a bit of a process, to be fair. I think after last semi-finals and stuff, I just had a bad taste in my mouth because I spent most of the off season injured and just really didn't feel like I had good preparation. And yeah, just trying to train. I would have been safer training once a day instead of trying to train twice a day. Looking back,
Mm.
again, hindsight's 2020. But I was just trying to do too much for what the time that I had to put into it. And obviously, just being over 30 as well is different. You can maybe do that when you're in your early 20s potentially, but recovery is just so important. So, um, yeah, I just didn't have a good feeling at the end of the year. And plus, after COVID, I was like, oh, this can't be it. So, regardless of whatever was to happen, the outcome of this year, a much bit more enjoyable training experience, enjoying training, and yeah, getting to do things like going to Dubai, going to Miami, a couple of things like that. It's been well with it so far.
And like I suppose as well, it's kind of there can't be a point, like you say, you might have regrets or whatever, just general like little things, I suppose. But like this is probably the first year where you haven't been sat in an office feeling guilty that you're not or feeling like other people are maybe passing you out, or that you're, oh shit, I
Yeah,
should be doing this, or I didn't get to finish that this morning, I'm going to have to do that this evening. That kind of anxiety about it, I suppose.
yeah, definitely. Like literally, I couldn't have done another year the way it was last year. It was literally like I'm going to stop competitive CrossFit or else and do something else, or else change up what I'm doing because it was just yeah, it just wasn't enjoyable. Trying to get in before work and then you weren't recovering and then trying to constantly eating on the go and just everything was up the left. And it's I guess it maybe takes you to go to that point to realize that you know this isn't working. And probably got away. It's getting so competitive. The sport itself is that you have to be pretty much full time if you want to compete at that level. Everyone else is sort of doing that. So um, if a lot of people do have the abilities, but then maybe not everyone has the position that they can put the time and effort into it. So yeah, it's sort of I don't know whether I really had the opportunity or just created it myself, but I seen an opportunity and took it. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned like the competitiveness, and it's like even just in Ireland, like the number of people qualifying for quarterfinals, given the size of the country, is pretty ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we were only like second. Okay, well, I think third behind like New Zealand and Iceland, and like
mm,
New Zealand's pretty small, and it's only New Zealand and Australia in their semi-final area or whatever, and Iceland are just fucking ridiculous. But like
yeah,
that's a fairly impressive stat to see that Ireland, which is relatively new to, like, CrossFit is new enough anyway, I suppose, but like Ireland is relatively new to it, as in like it's definitely still a growing sport here. But to see that number of people qualify, and like, we've got two teams, and like 5 or 6 athletes going to semifinals now, depending on what happens. Like it's kind of like, do you think at you mentioned that you're 32. Are you kind of seeing that as like, oh, this is really inspiring and it's really going to like give me an extra push or whatever? Or are you like, do you find yourself maybe looking over your shoulder more than you had, like, say, last year or the year before?
not at all. Actually, I don't really look over my shoulder anyway. You say you're just focused on probably getting better yourself, but yeah, I think it's really cool to see, as you say, just for the size of Ireland. And you probably think, why is that? I guess is it like it's like why are like Irish people good at boxing? Is it they're more resilient or something? you know, that's always the question. Like, but yeah, it's hard to know. But I think you probably because the sport there's so much into it, and it's sort of been around long enough that people just have the time to get the skill acquisition they need. A lot of people have the potential to be very good athletes, but there's just so much different variance in skills. You do get some people who just jump up and kind of walk on their hands and do whatever, but it's just that bit more time now that because it has been more popular and it's been on the big stage that long. It's just sort of I think it's just grown more and more interest that people have got into.
I think it's interesting that you compare it to boxing, because I suppose of the two sports that are out there, it's just like they're the ones that you just have to lock yourself away and like do the extra work, like do the other stuff that people
Yeah,
aren't willing to do. Because like if it's a team sport, it's different, I suppose, because you're relying on other people to help. Like if you're a striker, you're only as good as the delivery of the ball coming into you or whatever. Like, and it's kind of,
yeah,
I
yeah,
suppose, with
exactly.
CrossFit and with boxing, it's like you can get your base level, but then it's like on you to go and do the extra bits or whatever. And they're kind of unique sports, I suppose, in that way, where
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
No, yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I think so. Definitely.
And people, like, I think Irish people in general are just good at getting the shit kicked out of them and getting back up again. Like we've done it for like whatever 700 years
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Oh, we'll not get into that. Yeah.
um I was curious as well, like obviously with the growing sport, and like the you guys getting more recognition, like deserved recognition, even just like in Ireland and outside of it. Like, does that come with extra pressure then? Where obviously you've got, like, say, brands that you work with and that support you, and like it's a what would you call it, like a symbiotic relationship, I suppose. But then
Yeah.
there's also pressure there, which comes with that success of like, I saw you flew over to Manchester and did like a My Protein thing, and you were down in Limerick another time doing, like,
Hmm.
is it difficult to balance the fact that, like, okay, yeah, you're getting extra support, but that comes with extra responsibilities or extra duties, I suppose?
Um, to a degree, I think this year I've definitely changed a lot in my approaching things because you're actually getting to live and do what you want to do. So in a way, it's like, yes, there's more pressure in some ways, but why do people want to like follow your journey, or why are people even interested in it? It's just because you're getting to do what you want to do and getting to be yourself. So it's if I went and finished last at strength and depth, which I really hope I don't, will people still be interested in, what you have to say afterwards? I think they would, because they'd be like, what happened, what went wrong? And, you just held your hand up and saying, look, I wasn't good enough in the weekend. So yes, there is pressures in some ways, but it's more so the pressures you put in yourself. But I think,
Mm.
people follow your sports journey because of, maybe the person you are, having or whatever. I don't know. I like to think so anyway. As opposed to actually your accolades, and is there better athletes in the world? Yeah, definitely is. But are they maybe 100 kilos and 6'2"? Probably not. So it's what you bring to the table, and it's probably my bit of my motivation of wanting to try and progress in the sport, because you're sort of going against the grain as well. So, and you actually asked, did the year start, was it like Neil's idea or anything, to go all in for a year? And it definitely wasn't. It was probably actually my sister who was the biggest influence on it. Neil was actually the biggest roadblock in the whole thing. He actually had a spreadsheet done of why I shouldn't do it. And that was the inspiration of too tall, too old, too heavy of me starting this process of trying to lean up. Because he was like, your competition is average 6 years older, your competition is average 15 kilos lighter, and your competition is average so many inches shorter. And I was like, what more do you need to hear to tell you you're in the wrong sport? you know? Um, yeah, which, it's all true and everything, but at the same time, it just didn't sit right with me.
And was his point there, like, what's the point in going all in if you're
I
already at a
think I
loss?
think it was yes and no. To be fair,
Or
I
was
think
it
it
some
was
ridiculous, like,
it was
reverse
probably more
psychology?
so. No, I think it was probably more so on the human side. It was just like,
Yeah.
you're 32 now, and I think it's the only sport in the world that people like really put their lives on hold to really pursue goals at, like still probably at like a mediocre level. Without not mediocre, but I mean like what people are doing is crazy, the feats of athleticism and everything. But at not professional level, is what I'm trying to say, where you don't actually
Yeah.
get paid, or you're putting your life on hold of life progression to do this sport. And I think it was probably more on a human level of where he was coming from, which is totally fair. And I think like that's what you need in life. You need people that are going to tell you what you don't want to hear. You don't need yes men around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was more so on that level of where he was coming from. But it actually involved a conversation with myself and my sister, of being like, I had a bit basically put a case forward of why you should keep doing this and why you should keep coaching me. Because he's the perfect person to play devil's advocate. But once he was on board, he was fully on board, and once he knew that I actually really wanted to do it, yeah, that was that.
And your sister's a sports psychologist, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's obviously handy then. Like,
Yeah, I probably haven't been talking to her like definitely different stages of the year, and probably have different conversations about things that it doesn't even feel like sports psychology. Probably it just feels like a normal conversation that I guess you kind of just develop a relationship in a certain way, and that's
hmm.
just how the conversation flows. Um, but yeah, she's probably psychoanalyzing me. I don't even know he's doing it at this
Yeah, yeah.
stage. But yeah, no. So it definitely has helped in the past, and I think it's definitely helped develop a lot of behaviors and probably change some sort of mindsets. I guess that just over time it's just developed without really forcing it. If you know what I mean.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's I'm sure it has helped.
How long you went to regionals on a team in 2016? Was Neil coaching you then?
He was, yeah,
So
yeah,
your entire, like, CrossFit career, he's been your coach.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what is it about him you think that, like, makes you tick, or like, helps?
Um, I think it's just he's probably softened it much more as he the past few years, but I think it's just his no bullshit
I think
approach.
anybody who saw that video that Louis put up, like, would vehemently disagree that he softened, or would be afraid of what he was like if that's him softened.
That's the thing though. He would lose a rag, and then see literally 5 minutes later he was over to the guy, because like that was the third time they'd messed up, and they like there was a class starting at 12:30, and then they had to wait to after that class, and then they had to do another two workouts that day. And I was like, that totally messed up the whole eating schedule, the whole day. So it was just like big pressure build up. But like within 5 minutes, he had lost the rag, and he walked away, and he's like, right, I've got cover for my classes later on. You go and eat now, you go and do this. Like he had a full plan worked out within a couple of
Mm.
minutes, and it was like, he sees red, but then he comes back and then has a plan. So it was quite funny. So it was, but yeah, well, it was very funny. But yeah, that's how he sort of operates, in that scenario.
Like, is it obviously he knows you and he knows, like, you obviously have a good relationship, as in like you'd be comfortable, you're not afraid of letting him down or anything, as in you'd be comfortable going to him saying like, you know what, I'm actually not feeling 100%, like maybe I shouldn't do this, that, or the other, or like he'll know by looking at you like, okay, he's firing on all cylinders, we can do this, that, and the other. Like, does it go beyond that? Do you think that like spending that amount of time with one person, does it go beyond just that he knows you? Like, does it stretch further than that? Is it a case of like he can look back and say, you know, well, in 2016 we did this, and then 2020 we did this, so now we can do, like, has he got like, I guess, like a bird's eye view of
Metrics,
everything?
yeah, yeah. Probably to a degree, yeah. So like, look, I guess in some ways, yes, but I think it's just constantly progressing and different things, always just looking how to progress you and it knowing your weaknesses, I guess. But yeah, like say even at the minute, it's like, oh, look back at what you've done in 2018 when you've done triple three. It's like as long as we keep your running volume up, you'll be grand in a running type event or something. So he knows you have them capacities in certain things, which probably does help. Um, and in terms of like, yeah, like if you're like typically at the weekend there, like yeah, I went in on Saturday morning and my for some reason my knees have just been really sore and flared up, and it just like everything just felt off, and he just said just go home and eat loads of calories and come back in the next day, and then they had like a lighter training day. And like on Saturday, I was like, "Oh, it's all over. I'm done." But I slept for a few hours, and then literally the pain levels were like 50%.
Mm,
I just had a heavy week, and CNS was just saying no. So yeah, yeah, I guess he probably just knows you as an athlete and knows your system quite well.
mm,
So I guess that does help. I think a lot of people probably, jump about that. Yeah, I think it does work for some people, I guess, jumping about coaches. But I think a lot of people maybe go looking for, the next best thing or what's, to get them better. But I think inevitably over time, your weaknesses are your weaknesses, and it's going to be very hard to get them that much better in a short space of time. So I think maybe people look for another coach or look for another approach that could maybe do that. And I think there's definitely some merit in it, but does it require you to jump coaches, or does it require you to just look at different ideas? You know, um, but yeah, I think there's definitely some merit in staying with the same coach if you get along with them.
mm. Um, you qualified in 2020 as, you know, like national champ or whatever national champ.
Yeah,
And it was like just basically taken away. Like you couldn't,
yeah, yeah,
you weren't able to do it with COVID and
yeah,
everything. And just from speaking to you now, so like I spoke to you, was it around like maybe this time last year? It was you, Sam, and Emma,
that's
on like
right.
one
Yeah,
call, and
I
like
actually
I
forgot
remember getting
about
off the
that.
call, and I remember like I came downstairs, and my wife was like, "Oh, how did that go?" And I was like, "Grand, yeah." And I was like, like PD Reed just doesn't seem that happy. And like now I'm getting a total different sense of like you
Yeah,
just seem like, and Emma's the same, just seem in a better place. Like just seem like you're
yeah,
enjoying
yeah.
it more, and that there's obviously the same amount of pressure because you still have to perform, you still have to do well, but it's like you're embracing the pressure rather than like having to hold it up, I suppose. Like would you agree with that, do you think?
You've hit the nail on the head. You're much more observant than I thought you were. I'm only joking. That's just my bad humor. But
No,
yeah,
that's
no,
it's
you're
a pretty fair assessment, to be honest.
I'm only joking. Yeah, no, you're 100% right, man. It's I think before I'd previously let the pressure get to me too much, thinking that I have to do this and I have to be Ireland's fittest or I have to be that to be this person. But you don't like as airy fairy as it sounds. You just have to be yourself and be the best version of yourself. And unfortunately, I'm playing in a sport that I'm never going to be the absolute best because of my size, weight, height, age, whatever. But you can still be better, and it can still compete. And I think I've showed that. So it's just the constant process of trying to be like, right, what can I do better, and how can you be the best version? I think even from like watching, like I always take inspiration from watching like Brent Fikowski at the games. He maybe finished 15th in the event, and he is celebrating like he's won the event
Yeah.
because he knows that's a very good result for him. And that's basically what I do. If I'm finishing a workout and I'm doing it behind Sam and it has strict handstand push-ups in it, and I'm not like 2 full minutes behind him or something, or if I'm not 90 seconds behind him, I'm like, that's not too bad because that's a really bad workout for me,
Yeah.
Um, so whereas I'm a bit of an outlier in ways that possibly I can probably drop down to middle of the pack in one workout, but then you can maybe potentially win another workout. So that's kind of the only reason why I've kind of kept in. I think it'd be different if you didn't have that potential of possibly doing really well in a workout. I think that you don't really have a chance. Maybe in another 2 years, I guess somebody in my body type might not have a chance because everyone's just going to be these 5'8" robots that are just amazing at everything. So yeah, I'm starting to waffle now. I don't even know what
No,
the
that was
start
it.
of the question was.
It was a depressing thought to end on, but the rest of it was good.
Fair. Just cut that out
When
here.
so you finished 11th in the German Throwdown last year,
Yeah,
online, and like you mentioned that you were injured a bit, and I suppose it was just a bit of a miserable time, like for everyone really, where everything was closed and you couldn't
yeah,
really go anywhere and
yeah,
do anything, and like things just weren't. Obviously, there was bigger problems than CrossFit competitions being online, but like it just wasn't the way it was supposed to be. Like, I'm sure that's how you felt
mm,
when you finished first in the country in 2020, and then it's just like, well, this isn't what's supposed to happen. And then like the German Throwdown, you qualify for that, and it's online. It's like, this isn't what's supposed to happen. Like, was there
yeah.
a point during that where you mentioned there that you were faced with a decision of like doing something else or going all in? Was there a potential of, fuck it, I'll just stop?
Yeah, for a while, as I say, I work for my dad, and he's not getting any younger, and the guilt of not being there to help, and when you could, and things, but then in some things you do have to be a bit selfish now. I'm like, will I hate myself in a couple of years if I don't, if I have the ability to try and do this now?
Mm,
And thankfully, some sponsors and things came on board and sort of made it a bit more feasible. That's really sort of changed things a wee bit. It was like, as long as you can pay your own way and everything, you cover yourself, then that makes it sort of feasible. But yeah, for the guilt side of that was probably the main thing that was kind of holding me back. So
mm,
it was probably a good 6 weeks, like, of to and froing. And I always knew, even like some close friends and stuff I had conversations with, and like they're all like, what you're going to do, like, and it's like, yeah, but actually doing it is the hard part, like,
yeah.
because I remember saying to them, I was like, it's easy now having this big picture idea and thinking, yeah, I'm going to do this and train full time for a year, but then it comes to then like November, October, sort of long, cold days and nights. And it's like, are you still going to be motivated to train then? Are you still going to want to do this then?
Mm,
Um, which you could easily just sack off and, not bother. So yeah, it's kind of making sure that you were going to be able to continue that, momentum throughout the year, because there's no point going into it thinking, oh, at the first stumbling block, you're just going to throw the head up and be like, oh, like this, and run back to office life again.
run
So
back
it
to
was kind
daddy.
of, well, yeah, basically, yeah, kind of a job again. Um, but yeah, so it was kind of just making sure that you were in the mind frame of like, yeah, making the most of this year. And I think that's what, again, Neil's hesitant was at the start. Like, obviously the goal is, and still is to qualify for the games. But will I be okay if I don't do that? I'll be okay. I'll be pretty gutted. But provided I go and perform at the best that I possibly can, at the events that I can, I'll be happy. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, and I think if I do that and there's no major bottleneck movements, I think I'll be there or thereabouts. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the situation.
Yeah. Well, Brian Friend agrees. I don't know if you saw, he put up a post where he had like an Excel spreadsheet of all the semifinals, and he has them color coded. Of blue is like should be at the games. Like
Mm-hmm.
if nothing weird happens, the blue
Yeah.
people should be at the games. And the yellow people have the potential to go to the games,
Mm-hmm.
and then the white people don't. Like he was like, either I
Okay.
don't. He was like, either I don't know them, I don't know enough
Yeah.
about them, or I don't think they have
Yeah.
the capabilities to get there. And you're yellow, so he obviously
Okay.
has you as like because like it's fucking stacked. Like
Yeah, man.
it
Oh, it
is
is.
like,
It
but even
is.
I was looking, right, so you mentioned that you have the capacity to win a workout, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, some of the workouts that might not suit him because he's a big guy,
Yeah.
but like everyone's fucking huge. Like everyone at that
Yeah.
event is fucking like, you okay, like Janikowski, he's like small enough. Willie George, like he's small but chunky. Then like
Yeah.
Andre
General.
Hude, Heinrich Kapelainen, Zach George, Christoph Horvath, like they're all massive. So like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like even the ones that potentially could hurt you, the
Hmm.
other people that are fighting for the same places as you will also be hurt by those workout, you'd assume as well. Like, does like obviously when you see the names coming up, are you like, oh fuck, like that's stacked? I mean, they're all a bit stacked, but
Do you
then
know?
does
Yeah.
it help that you're all kind of that a lot of you are similar frames and stuff as well? Do you think?
Yeah, do you know, funny, I was funny been thinking about that recently. Like, should I be doing more research and like my competitors and stuff here, and in that kind of way? But at the end of the day, it doesn't. I don't think it really matters. And again, between the split of the regions, like they're both equally stacked. Europe is a stacked region,
Mm.
you know. So I don't think there's much benefit in over analyzing it that way. I remember actually listening to Matt Fraser and one of the things, and he's saying like he's working out like what he might need to snatch because uh, and he knows what these other guys are capable of doing or what numbers they're hitting, um, uh, which is fair, but I just don't know if it's actually going to do much benefit of trying to analyze what these people can and can't do and what they're good at. I think at this stage you just
Uh,
kind of
I suppose the difference for him is he knew whatever anyone could do, he had the potential to do more than. So
yeah,
like
yeah,
he just said, okay, if they do 180, I'll do 181. Like
yeah.
whereas it's
That's
different
that's
if
it.
you're like,
That's it. You
yeah.
kind of know roughly what your capabilities and your capacities are roughly. You do hope to surpass them a bit, but it's having that realistic expectation as well, and you just know that if he can do that, then hopefully it'll be enough. But as I say, it's you just have to give it all and see what way the
Mm.
results are. That's all you can do.
Obviously you're hoping that you're going to be in the best heat. Um, because that means you're in contention. But I know something
Yeah.
Brent said was you mentioned him earlier on, and you reminded me of it there. He was saying that sometimes he'd watch an earlier heat and be like,
Hmm.
if it was a weird event or whatever, which there could be,
Yeah.
because it's a live competition. But he was saying that he'd look at the earlier heat and be like, okay, that guy's a similar frame to me. We
Yeah.
have similar
Yeah.
strengths and weaknesses. What's he doing? And like, it was
Yeah.
funny because he said it like just the minutia of it. Like he was like, he's doing that bit unbroken and he's walking to the bar, so I can do that bit unbroken and jog to the bar. And like that could be the
Yeah.
difference of like
Yeah.
15 places. Like it's crazy, really, when you break it down like that.
Yeah. hundred
Um,
percent.
so obviously it's stacked, and like you said, they're all stacked, and obviously you want to walk away at the end of the season and like wherever the end of the season comes and say, I didn't I didn't hold myself back in any way, which you're doing by setting yourself up for, the ideal scenario of training
Hmm.
and life balance and stuff. So you're taking that box. You've qualified for semifinals, which not many people can say. Um, and you're saying that you want to look back and say, I'm not disappointed with my effort, we'll say. Like that
Yeah.
was as good as it could be. And maybe execution, whatever, like people things happen, like
Yeah.
um we can't really control that, and we can't really control what other people do, so it's a good mindset to have. But like, have you got it like a marker in your head of what success would look like, as in will the season be a success if you perform to your best but don't qualify for the games, or is that the line where when you're across that line it's success and when you're not it's not?
Um, I guess I probably haven't thought about it too much. I think regardless, yes, I think already this year of doing this has been a success. I have enjoyed it and enjoyed the process of it again and find a love for training again a bit. So yeah, it's been successful in that way. But I came out with the start saying that I want to qualify for the games, and it'd be easy to come away and be like, oh yeah, I tried my best, but I didn't qualify. Like fuck that. Like I want to, and it's that kind of mentality, of coming away and being like, oh, my shoulder was a bit sore. Everybody out there is a bit sore, so, or something's going on. So I think, yeah, as a life, um, as a channel in life, yes, it's been successful, but as a sporting accolade, I think it'll be unsuccessful if I don't.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's two different maybe channels there to look at, but yeah, I think if hopefully if things go your way, and I think as I say, the harder you work, the more luckier you get. So hopefully you get a bit of luck in my way as well,
Yeah.
and for some reason all the workouts go my way. So yeah, we'll see.
I mentioned earlier on that you started in team in 2016 with 80/20. Is that like, do you think is that like on the horizon? Do you think that when you,
Yeah, somebody asked me that as well, actually, and I really haven't thought. Like I'm fairly tunnel visioned. I'm not good at looking too far ahead. I'm not good at like looking or setting plans up. You know, why people would constantly planning
hmm,
things. If you ask anybody about like social events and all, like I can't commit to anything. Like I just like, oh, on that day, yeah, yeah, let's do it. Within reason. I do try to. So yeah, I haven't really thought that far ahead. I think sometimes you just kind of know what's right. Like the end of last year, I just kind of knew what was right and what way to take things. So at the end of this year, I'm kind of hoping that whatever way it pans out, I'll just kind of know what route to take.
hmm.
Yeah, so don't really have a bigger picture right now. You know,
Um, well, look, I'll hopefully see you in London. Um,
cool,
I'm going to both, so hopefully I'll see you there.
nice.
Um, and best of luck with the rest of your prep and
Thank you
keeping
very much.
uh Neil's temper in check between now and um but yeah, look, like I
Yeah,
said, it's genuinely great to see you so happy. It's like, not like you weren't like miserable company or anything the last time, but I just felt like, I don't know,
yeah,
I think to be honest, I came away from the call thinking like I was a bit afraid that you were going to stop or something. I had just a bit of a fear of like, God, what if he's unhappy enough to stop doing it? So it's a
yeah,
relief to see you still competing, and it's great to see you sharing your efforts to change your physiology to suit your sport more. I think that's inspiring a lot of people as well. That because I suppose it's easy for us to look at you doing a workout or finish a workout and just be like, Jesus Christ, like he's absolutely fucking shredded. But then it gives us the
yeah,
rest of us hope when you're like, I still have a bit of work to do, and that you're willing to share the struggles of trying to do that bit of work.
yeah.
Um, but no, it is. It's great to see you so happy, and it's great to see you enjoying your training and enjoying your balance
I
and
appreciate
just doing
that.
things right. So yeah, best of luck, and we'll see how you get on. Fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.